This is the part 4 maybe of Jack Day's statement. I want to summarize the whole thing because I am baffled. I am shocked that Jack Day actually said he came home a little bit after 1 a.m. at night. So let's summarize this. Now that I showed you all that Jack D was still at the corner club at 1:32 a.m. and he said he came home to his apartment little after 1 a.m. Now that gives him advantage. It gives him an open space of over 30 minutes, 32 minutes. And he was waiting for his friend to finish work at 2 a.m. So why did he say that? And why did he ask her lawyer? It's very strange. Why does he believe that somebody was harassing Kaylee, who was last seen with the girls, Kaylee and Maddie? Does he mean John Showalter? What is happening? I'm just following the facts. The facts are leading me to Jack D is being untruthful. Because the screenshots, the reports on TMZ and many major news reports shows the screenshot and it says it was 1:32 a.m. Let's start here. He knew to be living in each room. So remember, Jack D was asked by the detective to draw all the rooms of all the roommates in 1122 King Road. What does that show? He knew the house in and out. Jack D was put on the Land Cruiser for 45 minutes by the police when he came to the crime scene. I'm just pointing out what I say. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. He knew to be living in each room. So he had to draw it, and he drew it. I've attached these drawings to this supplement and will transfer them to the Moscow Police Department. I will also scan these sketches and place the scans on a disk to include the audio recordings of Blank's interview, there's Jack D, as well as other documents. Number 10, I asked Blank, Jack D, if he had any idea who could have been responsible for committing these homicides. Blank, that is Jack D, advised that he had seen a video from the grub truck on Main Street that night, before showing a Blank member named Blank seeming to follow Kaylee and Maddie Morgan from the area of the grub truck. I would assume there's John Showalter from Delta Tau Delt fraternity, but he was kicked out of the fraternity before they went home. Blank also advised, as Jack D also advised, that he heard from Blank that a man named Blank has been acting predatory at the corner club the night before, and that the corner club had kicked him out. So somebody was kicked out of the corner club the night before. Was that Jack Showalter, or was it the other guy? CJ was his name? Number 11, I asked JD to describe what vehicles the 4 victims drove. JD advised Maddie Morgan drove a white Chevy Cruze. Kaylee drove a silver Range Rover. Ethan drove a red Jeep Wrangler, and Xana Knodel drove a blue Honda Civic. So he was asked to draw all the roommates' rooms and drawings of the house, and he was asked each and every roommate, the victims, the cars they were driving. So his interview is actually very important and more detailed. But why did he lie and say he came home a little after 1 a.m.? We'll come to that. After he describes the vehicles, number 12, we took a break and JD left the room to speak to his mother, who was concerned about JD. Upon returning from speaking with his mother, JD said he did not want to continue the interview without a lawyer being present. We stopped the interview and JD left. Isn't that interesting? So his mother called. This is the police reports I'm reading. His mother called. So he told the detective, I'm not going to be interviewed anymore. I want my lawyer. So this is part of the reports that I'm reading. Number 13. Blank returned. JD returned on November 17th. So this was November 14th that I read. November 15th, sorry. So now it's November 17th. Accompanied by his attorney, he came with his lawyer, Jed Nixon. After a brief recap of what we had discussed on November 15th, we resumed talking with JD about his recollections of what had happened on that night the homicides occurred. JD said he blank and blank got back to their apartments a little after 1 a.m. Guys, let me read this back again. So on the 17th of November, JD, accompanied by his attorney Jed Nixon, after a brief recap of what he had discussed on November 15th, because remember, on November 15th, he was without an attorney. His mother called him. Then he cut the interview by saying, I need my attorney. So he comes back on November 17th, prepared, with his attorney, Jed Nixon. After a brief recap of what we had discussed on November 15th, we resumed talking with JD about his recollections of what had happened on the night the homicides occurred. So this is where my issues lie. He said his bedroom was on the main floor. No, this is what he said. Returned on November 17, accompanied by his attorney, Jed Nixon. After a brief recap of what we had discussed on November 15th, we resumed talking with Jack D about his recollections of what had happened on that night the homicides occurred. Jack D said that he, blank, and blank got back to the apartments a little after 1 a.m. But that is not true. Let's hold on. He said his bedroom was on the main floor. He said he hung out with his friends for 10 to 15 minutes. Advised he was drunk. Asked him to estimate on a scale of 1 out of 10 how drunk he was. Jagdi said he put his level of intoxications at an 8 out of 10. That's quite drunk in my opinion. I'm saying that as a mental health counselor, because we go by scales in DSM. Whether it's we deal or we give therapy to people who have addiction problems, alcohol problems, group therapy, groups counseling, a different kind of mental health illnesses. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with him drinking that much. This is a college student. But I'm saying there's something wrong with him lying about his timeline. And that's exactly why I always believe WSU Kim when she said that Jack D. She said it from the beginning, that her daughter is best friend and Jack D. is best friend were dating. And the girl he's dating is her daughter's best friend. WSU Kim is best friend. And that girl goes to a sorority in WSU. And her friend told her that Jack D told his girlfriend, that is W.S.U. Kim's daughter, his friend, to lie and say that he was with them. That was what was said in the beginning. But he says he was at home little after 1 a.m. and that's not true. I'll show you why. He hung out with his friend for 10 to 15 minutes and fell asleep. He said he's never experienced basically memory loss or sleepwalking or anything. I have a problem with the timeline. Remember, he said he came home a little after 1 a.m. Little would be like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes. It wouldn't be around 2 a.m., an hour after, waiting for Adam to finish work. But he said that a president of a fraternity drove him home, was on sober watch. Could that be David, who was sober? Yeah, basically sober watch. Could that be David B? We saw the white truck heading that way. But just hold on. He says 1 a.m., a little bit after 1 a.m. Remember that. This man's statements don't make sense. Why would you say you came home a little bit after 1 a.m. to the cops? This is my problem. We can see Jack D sitting near Kaylee and Maddie. Adam Lauder is on the right here sitting next to that elderly man and Shawalter. Pay attention to the timestamp downstairs. That was 1:32. So it couldn't have been little after 1 a.m. that Jack D was at home, because at 1:32 he was at the corner club. And I heard he was waiting for Adam Lauder to drove him home. But in the report he says that a senior president frat drove him home, a sober watch. Is that David B? The same David B from the Sigma Chi who said that Zana spoke to him and said when he last saw her and she was coming from the fraternity party Sigma Chi, she said we should party together, and he said, oh, well, why didn't I think of that before? Like Zana would say that. We know David B and David Lodge were having brewing beef with Zana and Ethan. But why is Jack D lying about the timeline? He said little after 1 a.m. he was driven to his apartment, which wasn't true. Look at the timestamp, 1:32. He's sitting and laughing and talking to Kaylee and Maddie. Why didn't he pick up their calls? I just have questions. Not accusing anyone of anything. This is all facts. And it's not the picture that's lying. That's the correct timestamp. Kaylee and Maddie reached the grub truck at 1:44. At 1:32, they were standing and talking to Jack D. Why is Jack D saying he was at home at little after 1 a.m.? There's too many red flags here, in my opinion, with everyone's statement. I hope you can see the timing, 1:32 and 14 seconds. Jack D was at the corner club. So what is he chatting about? Why did he tell the detectives he reached home, he was drove into his apartment a little after 1 a.m. when he was here at 1:32. It's even on TMZ News and other news. Let me know what you think, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. And he believes that it was when the officers asked him, detective asked him, who do you think did this horrific crimes? He said, the girls Kaylee and Maddie were seen. The guy they were seen last with at the grub truck. He saw the video and he thinks it's him. So he was turning against John Showalter. Isn't that interesting? And he said there was a guy who was thrown out from the corner club the day before.